Welcome to English with Teacher Eva. I teach English as a foreign language, and I also love learning lots of different languages, including Spanish, Portuguese, French, Greek, Thai, and more. I love learning when there are words that are the same in two different languages. So, if you're learning English or if you're learning Portuguese right now, this video will help you to see words that are the same in both languages, so you already know these words. We call these cognates. Cognates are words that are similar that have the same meaning in two or more languages. These ones are identical cognates. This means you don't have to make any changes at all. The word in English is the same exact word as the one in Portuguese. The spelling's the same, it looks the same, it means the same thing. The pronunciation might be a little bit different. And again, I'm learning Portuguese, but I do teach English. So first, let's go over the English pronunciation of these words, and you can repeat them after me to make sure that you're pronouncing them correctly. And then we'll look at my pronunciation of them in Portuguese. And you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I would recommend consulting a professional or Portuguese speaker to make sure that your pronunciation is correct in Portuguese. In English, we pronounce this animal, animal, real, real, vital, vital, total, total. Banana. Notice acerola, açaí, jabuticaba. So if these are fruits that are native to your country, we call them what you call them. Radio, video, cinema, radio, video, cinema. Zero, zero. Natural. Notice the TU here. Instead of saying natural, the ter becomes chur. Natural. So it's kind of pronounced more like this, kind of like natural, natural, global, global, social, social, original, original, chocolate. Notice we don't really pronounce the O, and we pronounce this more like chocolate, chocolate. Familiar, familiar. Crime, crime. The opposite of crime? Something is legal. You can do it. It's legal. And finally, email, email. Okay. My understanding of the Portuguese pronunciation is animal, real, vital, total, banana, acerola, açaí, jabuticaba, rádio, vídeo, cinema, cerro, natural, global, social, original, chocolate, familiar, crime, legal, email. What do you think? Is my Portuguese okay? You can correct me in the comments below. Now, these are adverb cognates. So an adverb, notice if you see ads, what are ads? We see ads on TV. They give us information for what we can buy. Ads are like info, information, informação. If you think about it, adjectives give us info about subjects and objects in a sentence. And adverbs give us information about verbs or adjectives. So here, the subject of this sentence is the movie. Here, historically, is acting as an adverb. It's giving us information about how correct the movie is. So correct is true. This is giving us information about the movie. It's an adjective. It's giving us information about the subject. And this is giving us information about the adjective. How is it correct? It's historically correct. So we call this an adverb. Now we're going to look at how in English we have this ending ly for many adverbs. In Portuguese, we have the similar base. So notice here the base is real and real, real and real. In Portuguese, they add mente. I believe this is pronounced more che, to the end of that base. In English, we add ly, be, to the end of that base, and they function in the same way. You would use these in the same way that you would use these words in Portuguese. So in English, we pronounce these really, same as realmente in Portuguese. Basically, same as basicamente. Historically, same as historicamente. Automatically, automaticamente. Orally, oralmente. Naturally, naturalmente. Here, I want you to see that basically everything else is spelled the same. Notice how we end up having two L's a lot here instead of just one. And then here are the adjectives of those words that if you remove the ly, you could see I bolded what was added to the adjective. You can say, for example, the movie is historic. He is historically famous. So, how famous was he? He was historically famous. He was famous in the past. The movie is historic. This is the adjective form. It's telling us about the subject, the movie. I'm going to share links that share more of these kinds of words because these are words that you already know in English or Portuguese if you're trying to learn one or the other. Then we have noun cognates. So the nouns in the sentences are the most common parts because they are all people, places, and things. So in this sentence, for example, the university is in the city. The university building, which could be a thing or a place, in the city, which is definitely a place, right? So both of those are nouns. So here we have noun cognates where the ending dade in Portuguese can be replaced with just ty in English, but the base is the same. So here we have cidade is the same as in English a city. City. Universidade in English, university. So we start this pronunciation with ya, not u, but university, like university. Honestidade, honesty. In English, honesty. Simplicidade, simplicity. Simplicity. Velocidade, velocity. Velocity. Gravidade, gravity. And likewise in English and Portuguese, gravity can talk about how serious a situation is, a grave situation. Notice here I have some adjective forms of these, like you could see. This is the adjective. I can say, he is an honest man. And then I can say, honesty is important. So if I'm describing the man, I say, honest. It's an adjective. If I am saying honesty, it is a thing. It is something that is important for me. So I just want you to see how all of these words are connected because there are so many words to learn. If we see how they're connected, it's easier to remember them. The ending são in Portuguese can be shun in English. We pronounce this shun. So, situação, situation. Comunicação, communication. Situation, communication. Informação, information. Information. A lot of times in English, we just say info. So you could just say that if you want. Educação, education, education. Notice here, when we have D and U, sometimes it becomes J, J. Education, education. Here, televisão, television. Expressão, expression. Missão, mission. Conclusão, conclusion. Believe me, Portuguese people, shun is so much easier than this sound. Sound. Do you know how hard it is for us to make this sound? So you're luckier, and this pronunciation is easier. Then we have adjective cognates. Again, adjectives are what we would use to describe a subject or an object in a sentence. So we learned some of these together in our capoeira group about our mess today. Let's take a look at some adjective cognates that exist in English and Portuguese. So here, I want you to notice that really all we do is we add these E's to the English word. So here's the English word, and notice what is different between the Portuguese word and the English word for difference. Do you notice? So we have an E here, and we have a double F here in English. Same thing here. We have a double L in excellent, and we have a double N in innocent. So notice these little differences, but otherwise they're the same. They're pretty much the same. Just minus your E and you have the English word. So diferente, different. And notice we kind of don't pronounce this E. We kind of go different. And this is more like I, different. Recente, recent, recent. Consistente, consistent, consistent. Excelente, excellent, excellent. I think it's innocente. Innocent, innocent. Again, please correct my Portuguese pronunciation anytime you want, and I'll be happy for it. A couple more of these where all you have to do is delete this final E to have the English word, except a couple times we have these extra L's, these double consonants in the middle. Presidente, president, president. Componente, component, component. Residente, resident, resident. Inteligente, intelligent, intelligent. Now we have gendered cognates. Another thing that makes English so much easier than Portuguese is that most words are gender neutral in English, whereas in Portuguese, they have a feminine a ending or a masculine o ending for certain words. And sometimes it's confusing because the article doesn't match the ending. So in Portuguese, the ending could be a or o, but in English, it's always just e. For masculine, feminine, e, no problem, no problem, including masculino and I think feminina is just masculine, feminine, like this, masculine, feminine. Let's hear the difference in these. Positiva or positivo, positive, positive. Executiva, executive, executive. Creativo, creative, creative. Competitiva, competitive. Narrativa, narrative. Motivo, motive, motive. Incentivo, incentive, incentive. Then we have oso or osa ending, religiosa, religioso, religious, religious. Famosa, famous, famous. Misteriosa, mysterious, mysterious, generoso, generous, generous, ambiciosa, ambitious, ambitious. Notice there's a couple little changes here. This I becomes a Y in the English, and this C is a T. Pronounced sha, ambitious. These ones are interesting because in Portuguese we learned that usually a ending is feminine, but for these professions, the ending is a, whether it's male or female. And you know that it is male or female based on the article that is used for it. If o is used before it, it's male, and a, it's feminine. However, in English, we just don't have the a, and we don't have to worry about the articles. They're gender neutral term. So we have dentista, dentist, dentist, comunista, communist, communist, jornalista, journalist, journalist, cientista, scientist, scientist, especialista, specialist, specialist. Notice in Portuguese, you have this E in front and you have to pronounce it, especialista. In English, we don't have the E and you don't pronounce it. You start with a sa, specialist, scientist. And notice here that we have this S in front of the C that doesn't exist here. It's the same sound. And then here we have a U, and here we have a double M. But otherwise, it's mostly the same. Continuing on, an artista is an artist, artist, feminista, feminist, feminist. And we have some more adjective cognates. Notice here, if you have the ending avel or evel in Portuguese, it becomes able or able in English. So, possível, possible, possible. Impossível, impossible, impossible. Terrible. I think I'm doing French. Terrible, terrible. Responsável, responsible, responsible. Vulnerável, vulnerable, vulnerable. Confortável, comfortable, comforter. Notice here, this fert, we more pronounce it fter, comforter, like this. Comfortable. So we pronounce it more comfortable, comfortable. Okay, are you comfortable? Try saying it. Please pause this video when you want to practice any of the pronunciation. I tried to give you a little bit of time to try it yourself, but if you want more time, you could pause it and give yourself more time. Now, these are false friends. These are where you have to be careful because they're words that could look similar, but they have different meanings in the different languages. For example, embrasse in French is an arm. A bra in English is what women wear as part of their underwear up here, right? So sometimes there are words that are similar in different languages but have a very different meaning. Let's look at some of these and how they can be confused in English. In Portuguese, we have the word atualmente. Now, you might see the word actual or actually in English and be like, oh, is that the same as in Portuguese? But it's not. In English, currently is the same meaning as atualmente. So again, if you're an English speaker and you're learning Portuguese and you see atualmente and you think it means actually, it doesn't. It actually means currently. Okay? And argumento does not mean an argument when people are fighting in English. It means reasoning. It means why you do something, why you believe something. A balcão is not a balcony. I made this mistake. I thought that that meant balcony in English, but it actually means like a counter of a hotel where you go to ask for help. Usually, like the people who work there, that's where you go to check in and stuff like that. Um, Compromiso does not mean compromise. It means an appointment. Like if you say, "Oh, I can't meet you at this time because I already have an appointment." Um, and then this one is hard. Ah, because in Portuguese, it's costume. And in English, it's spelled exactly the same way, but the meaning is different. A custom is something that you regularly do. Data does not mean data in English. Like data is the information that Facebook takes from us, right? It means date, February 17, 2024. A couple more. Esperto does not mean expert. It means smart, the same as intelligent. Yes? Eventualmente does not mean eventually. Eventually is like later, right? Um, it means maybe. Injuria does not mean injury. It means an insult. Noticia is not a notice. It means the news in Portuguese. Um, Pretender does not mean to pretend. It means to intend. Recordar does not mean to record. It means to remember. So, the English meanings of these words, the pronunciation, smart, maybe, insult, news, intend, remember, not expert, eventually, injury, notice, pretend, record. Retirar does not mean to retire. It means to withdraw money out of a bank. Taxa does not mean tax. It means a rate or a fee that you pay. Transito, I made this mistake, does not mean transit. Like in English, public transit means like the metro, the bus. It means traffic in English. Tráfico does not mean traffic like all the cars that are on the street. It's talking about drug trafficking. If you talk about tráfico in Brazil, it's good to know what words are similar and do have the same meanings and which words are similar but do not have the same meanings so that you can use them and not make mistakes with them that can be embarrassing or funny. I'm going to put these links in the description of the video and you can click on them and they give you some more help. Cognates are the words for when they have the same meaning. And these also show you, for example, when an English word uses different letters to make the same sound. Telefone, telephone. Farmacia, pharmacy. Alfabeto, alphabet. There are thousands of words that are the same. So we didn't learn all of them yet. There are many. English, we have the, theater, athlete, mathematics. So we already talked about these ones. Sound, shun, sound, dade. If the ending is ism in English, usually you add the o in Portuguese. Racism, racismo, turismo, organismo. Racism, tourism, organism. We already talked about this one, minus the A. Again, we minus the O or the A for the English words. And sometimes we have Y instead of A or O. So category, category, dictionary, dictionary, allegory, allegory. Do you see how many English words you know already? Infirmary, private, validate, immediate, So you could see they show you all of these connections here, and you can learn more. A lot of words in English ends with H, courage, percentage. And in Portuguese, they just add the M at the end, coragem, percentagem. You know these words, guys. We talked about the menshi instead of ly. You guys also have exactly, precisely, alphabetically. And then ficar in English is just fi. Identificar, identify. So these are verb cognates. These are different actions, right? Ans and ens, we get rid of the IA here. We have importance, license, correspondence, nacional, national. All of these are the same. I's for American English, ISE for British English, normalize, socialize, organize, authorize. This also talks about the false cognates or the false friends that we talked about. I hope that seeing which words you already know in English or Portuguese make you excited to try to practice speaking these languages. And don't worry, please remember that the best way to learn a new language is to not be afraid of making mistakes and try practicing your new language with people you can trust. I hope that you find some people to practice with and see if you could use some of the words that you learned today in a sentence. If you have any questions about what we discussed, please ask them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to respond either in the comments or in a future video. Thank you so much. See you next time on English with Teacher Eva.